Hi guys, I'm Sheena Joy. I'm a Canadian textile artist. I'm going to show you how to do this DIY bridesmaid gift. I recently got back from a road trip from a family wedding, and it got me thinking about all the beautiful ways to incorporate macrame into a wedding. I'll be getting into it in just a second. I just really wanted to show you the view in the canyon. It's absolutely gorgeous. For this project, you're going to need 16 cords cut at about 180 inches in length. Most of the knots you're going to be using are square knots. I used a wooden dowel to hold up my project. I found it a lot easier to work with rather than tacking it down. But you do what works best for you. For your first row, it's going to be square knots straight across. Like I said, we're mostly working with square knots. But this first row is actually going to be the bottom of your bag. For your second row, we're going to alternate the square knots. So how you do that is you drop the first two cords and then you use the next two. So you're using two cords from your previous square knots. And I'm making mine about an inch further down. If you do them really close up, then you're going to have a really tiny bag, but you're definitely going to need to space it further down about an inch or so. The further you space your square knots, the larger your bag is going to be. But when you space them a lot further apart, that means that the gaps between each knot are larger, which could potentially cause any items to slip through the bag. So for my first square knot row that I did, I placed it at the top of the dowel. And now I'm flipping my work around to work on the other side as well. Your first set of square knots, your first row, was actually the bottom of the bag. So now we're working on the sides of the bag. So like always, you're doing square knots and you're spacing them about an inch apart. So I'm just going to speed it up because I think you've got the gist. For the side of your bag, you want to join both the front and the back together, and that's also with another square knot. I realize that this isn't a really good angle for you to kind of see. The next row I kind of figure out that you really need to see it better, so you will see it a lot more clearly in the next row of this. But essentially you're grabbing two cords from the front of the purse and two cords from the back, and you're joining them together, and that way it kind of gives you like a cylinder shape for the bag. So on to the next couple of rows, and in a second I will demonstrate how you do the side a bit better. And don't forget, you have to keep flipping it around to do all the way around the whole bag. So this is the point where I figured out that you can't see very well, so I'm just moving my my rolling rack just so that you can get a better view. So to do the side of the bag, you're grabbing two cords from the back and two cords from the front, and you're just doing a square knot on the side and keeping it about an inch further away from your previous row. And this is basically the majority of the bag, so I'm just going to keep going and speed it up. And how you want to determine how long you want the bag, you just kind of stretch it out a bit and make sure that it's at the length that you want. It kind of, because it's mesh, it stretches a bit, so just keep that in mind when you're making the bag. There's actually enough room for 2 bottles of wine in the bag that I'm making, and mine was a little bit long in the length, but I thought that that was a good idea because you could put like you know, a box of chocolates at the bottom, or just some sort of gift box at the bottom, and then put your wine on top. I don't know, you tell me, what would you put in this bag for your bridesmaids? Okay, so now we're at what will be the top of the bag. So what I did was I separated the cords, the front from the back. This is where the handles are going to be. I wanted 2 handles, so that means you have to divide your bag into quarters. And I'm just going to put this half up at the top. That way it's out of my way. So again, you're just going to do 2 more rows of square knots, alternating square knots. That way it kind of gives it more of a slouchy kind of shape for the handle. That's 1/4 of it down. I am going to speed up the next half, and then I'll get back to you in a second. So this would be the trickiest part of the whole bag. So I am kind of crossing both sides together, and I am taping them together with some painter's tape. And this will kind of create the shape of the handle. The tape is not going to stay there. We're going to remove it once we're done doing a lot more square knots. So what I did to the front side, we have to do to the back side. So I'm just going to speed on through this, and I will get back to you in a minute. I also want to point out that you do want to be measuring this just to make sure that it's even. I kind of cut that part out of the video so you didn't see me measure it, but I did. Also, once you have it all taped up, I would highly suggest that you take it all down and you wear it as if it's already finished as a bag, and just to make sure that the length is appropriate. And you're going to need 2 additional cords, extremely long. I kind of guesstimate it to be about 420 inches in length. What I do to measure, I use my arm span, and that's typically about the same length of a tape measure, which is about 60 inches. and I use 7 of my arm span, which I'm assuming is around 420 inches in length. I apologize for not having extremely accurate measurements. When I create projects, I just kind of wing it. That's just me. But what I'm doing here with the really long cord is I'm doing more square knots. And you are doing several of these. This is what's going to be the handle for your bag. And I will show you in a minute once we reach down to the bottom of where the ends are. Okay, so I'm taking another piece of tape and I'm gonna grab the ends and I'm gonna bring them all the way up to the top as far as I can, and I'm gonna tape it to where I have already done the square knots. That way it's up out of the way, so that now when I continue on with my square knots, it's incorporating all the cords that were out, and we're just gonna snip those off at the end. This does make this part of the strap a lot bulkier, which is why I kind of liked it on the top where your shoulders are. I've also seen other artists, they do the same thing, but instead of having it so further up like I've done, they only overlap it a little bit, and then they do a gathering knot over top to hide all the ends. Once we reach the tape, we can remove it because all your ends are actually incorporated into the strap now. So we can keep on going down and removing the tape as we go. I realize it's a little bit tricky to see, so I've moved my work up higher and more into the light. Yeah, we're just going around the handle, and once we get to the very bottom, then I'll show you what we do next. When you're about even to each side where the thickness kind of ends, you want to bring your cords up and tape it, so that we're going to leave it out now, so that all the bulkier square knots are at the top where your shoulders are, and then on the lower half of your straps it's the thinner square knots, and we're going to snip off the excess cords when we're done here in a second. Okay, so I am finished all the square knots along my straps, so I am removing the tape that's holding the excess. What would really be cute is if you left the tassels there and you just kind of trim them so they were even, so you had tassels on your shoulders. That would be cute too, but I'm gonna snip them off and then kind of stuff them in the square knots to kind of hide them, and that is your strap. Off camera, I'm going to quickly do the other side, but this is the final product. I think this makes a really cute bridesmaid's gift. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more.